Hello, and welcome to the fourth and final class of e-learning made easy. So we are excited about this. This has been an amazing class, and we're very grateful to our instructor, Cassie. She has been both generous and entertaining with her time and information, so that's been amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over, and then I'll come back at the very end, and I'll do some updates for Jeffco BRC and our July classes. So go ahead, Cassie, take it away.
Okay, thank you. All right, guys, so thank you so much for your time. And I know Alina, Bonnie, Glenn, I'm really happy to have had you in the class. Also Pam, who I know watches the recording, so we'll say like, Pam, hello. So, okay, so this class is really important, and I also want to make sure that you feel relaxed right away. I'm not going to bombard you with a bunch of Captivate stuff. Paige, you were not here for the first 3 classes, but I feel like everyone took a nap immediately after each class because I was just so much information, especially class number 2. I had to take a nap myself, so. All right, so to recap, guys, Today we're going to talk about LMSs and the houses, which are basically the houses of what we've been talking about. But to recap the whole class, we started with the explanation as to what is instructional design. You know, what are the layers, what are the levels, what does it mean to have learning modalities? We talked about all 5 learning modalities that are popular today, which are who can tell me actually? Alina?
Kinesthetic.
Yes.
Reading, writing.
Reading, writing.
Sorry, Alina.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was so thrilled I knew 3 of them.
Yay.
Yes, yes.
Isn't there only 4? There's 5?
Well, there's usually kinesthetic and writing get grouped together.
Okay.
But I like to separate them just because that people do ask. I'm like, where does writing come in? Well, writing's grouped with kinesthetic. I just separate all 5 so that you can do your own individual grouping as you'd like. You know, but so yes, reading, writing, kinesthetic, audio, and visual.
All right.
Yes, those are the 5 main learning modalities that we have right now. Like I said, there are 7 billion people in this world. There's probably going to be a lot more. I'm surprised there's not 7 billion ways to learn, but you know, so far we've pinpointed 5, and it's good. At least we have some kind of base as to where to start. And remember that instructional design, the whole reason why we as instructional designers are passionate about what we do is because we really do care about learning engagement. There would probably be no learning modalities if we didn't care about how people learned. We would just be teaching them the way that we like to do, which, I mean, it's not necessarily the best for the learner. And so there's also, we talked about the Atlas complex, which is basically the teacher carrying the burden, something that you don't necessarily, I mean, it's kind of old schoolish to teach like that. Still happens, especially in classes that are more of the auditorium level. However, if you can do some Atlas and some interaction, that's always better. There's so far going to be still the instructor, which is very important, but just remember that even if you do online learning, your student still needs you. Don't just fully disappear from your classes. It's really important that you're present. Even when we monetize as entrepreneurs, we want to make sure that we don't just say, well, there you go, that was my idea and have at it. Well, no, if it's your idea, nurture your learner and nurture your idea. You know, it's much more likely that your learner is going to be your marketer if you do a good job teaching. Okay. All right, so those are the things we talked about the first class. And the second class, we got right into making simulations, which were basically screen captures of whatever it is that you wanted to teach. I know, Bonnie, you had the question of like the steps, 8 steps that you had for the library system. And, you know, it was a very good question because you had the written steps, and with the Captivate simulations, you could actually show them a quick MP4 of those steps as well. Not the only way to visually do it, but it was a really good incorporation of audio and visual when we did those simulations. Then last class, we talked about e-learning modules, which are the HTML5 modules that export, where the the most important thing about this modules is the kinesthetic aspect, because the learner is not just watching a video, they actually have to click play to learn, click things, do things, take quizzes, and that way we engage the whole muscle memory, and then the learner captures more, especially if they are a doer. Then I did a few quick plugs. One of them was for virtual reality, which I believe is going to be a very, very big thing in the future, especially for kinesthetic learners. As we move on to this online learning world, I think that we're going to come up with different ways to still be in a classroom, but not maybe physically be there. And I think virtual reality is going to come in. Augmented reality, and then extended reality. There are so many that are going to come up. But for now, what we have is what we can do well with, I think, for our students. All right, so now we get into the houses, which is the learning management system. Now, before I get into learning management systems, do you have any questions about the 3 previous classes? The motion sensor, you guys know, you're used to it. Any questions?
Yeah, Cassie, I'm sorry. I just haven't started my project yet. It's not due till December, so I'm, of course, taking the class now, and I won't wait till November to do it, but I just don't have any nitty-gritty questions yet.
No problem. And then, you know what, Bonnie, I'm so really glad that it's always good to have some kind of a primer. You know, now you know what it does. When I first started instructional design, who became like a huge mentor and the person I ended up learning pretty much everything from, put a pile on my desk basically and said, hey, let's do this. And she started, I already kind of knew about InDesign, but I didn't know it like I did. And she started teaching me little by little. And even though we definitely did like smaller bites in the 5 years that we were together, it was smaller bites. And sometimes she would have me take 3 bites. Not that we would use all 3 bites right away, but just to know what is it that the program could do. And so eventually when I did get to that 3rd bite, I kind of had knowledge, and at least I could research it without her having to explain it to me all over again. So it's great. Honestly, at least you have a base and you know what the program does. And when you are ready to create that simulation for those steps per se, then you can either look it up or give me a call.
Thanks.
No problem. Okay, so Alina, just for you, guess what I have, my friend? Slides. I created slides.
I was like, what? Thank you.
No problem. Paige, I know that you haven't been with us, but the reason, I was explaining to the class, the first class, that it was really important to receive feedback from your students and apply it, not just be like, oh yeah, that's good, but actually do something about it. Well, the last 2 classes, I didn't really have a chance to do this, but the first class, Alina did say that it would have been better to have some slides and not just Cassie talking, you know? So for the last couple of classes, we didn't really get a chance to do that because we were inside of Captivate, and that was basically what the screen sharing was. But now, it's not just Atlas. I want to make sure that I have my visuals here. So, all right. So thanks, Alina, for the suggestion.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. This is the last class, but you have my email when you need me. All right. Let's talk about it. What is an LMS? The answer is quick. It is a learning management system that houses content. So like we've been talking about, you have been working with, or we have been working with Adobe Captivate, which is one authoring tool. The authoring tool just means that that is where you create e-learning content. Okay, but what do you do with your content? Well, it needs to live somewhere, and an LMS is the perfect little place for it because it can house that content. Now, right now there are a lot of LMSs, but I wanted to talk about the 2 main kinds, which are the LMSs that are housed by an organization, and the LMS are housed by a subscription, by a cloud. And an organization, what I mean is probably more like your situation, Bonnie, where you are part of the library system. The library system has purchased an LMS or as some kind of service, and all you have to do is create content to upload it. Well, that's already set by an organization. It wasn't per se your call, but you're going to, that is the house that they purchased for you. Perfect. It's all set. And usually when I was in corporate America as well, that was already purchased. I was an instructional designer, I was a creator, and the IT department usually helped us upload everything. So then there's a second kind that's really pretty popular right now, which is the subscription based. A lot of entrepreneurs are using that, and it's basically that is where you pay monthly for a company to house your content. Okay, but that is you purchasing, or basically purchasing a membership so that it can monthly provide your clients with that content. Okay, a little bit different. You doing all the work or your organization doing all the work. Okay. Okay. What does an LMS offer? Well, the first thing I want to tell you is that I read online that there are more than 700 LMS vendors. I mean, that's a lot. That's kind of a lot. So how do you even pick one when you pick one? You know, it's a matter of really knowing what you want out of it. So some of the most popular LMSs right now are LMSs that can upload PDFs, video, presentations such as Keynote or PowerPoint, and are self-paced, meaning that your learner can do module by module and do it at their own time. Some LMSs offer gamification that we talked about last time, where you gain little badges when you complete certain modules. Then some also offer the ability to contact the instructor through the platform itself instead of via email. They also have chat inside of them, and some offer certificates of graduation for say, hey, you've completed this course, you can print this, you can prove to someone that you've passed this, type of thing. So there are a lot of choices, 700 apparently. So it kind of blew my mind. I only know of like 10. Okay. So before I get into, how do you pick, I want to get into a couple of things here. A couple of other things on LMSs that I've been researching. So I've read that some LMSs will actually allow you to create content within the LMS, meaning that you purchase the whole shebang and you can create your course inside of the LMS. You don't need per se a separate authoring tool like Adobe Captivate, because the way that we've been talking about is like, here's the LMS, here's Captivate, you create here and then you upload here. But there are some LMSs that combine both, so you can do everything in it, okay? The others will allow you to simply upload what you already have, which is kind of what we've been doing with Captivate. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out that I was reading about, and actually Paige gave me the heads up about this that I didn't know about, but I wanted to talk about. I was reading this information and I found it very, very interesting. Oh, first of all, I wanted to give you this. I was reading a little bit more about an LMS. I like Skilljar as far as their information. So I'm going to put this on the chat for you guys once I can find the chat, because I can't see it right now, but I will. I have way too much going on. And then, but then I also read that there are certain LMSs that you have to be really careful with your rights to content. Meaning, if you're paying for a service that's, that's allowing you to house your program, just be really careful and really read the fine print, because you don't necessarily want that LMS to keep your content. If you've created it, you've made it yours, and especially if you want to monetize with it, just be really aware of what the fine print says about keeping your content, okay? And making it available to the public. I'm sure that each of them have a certain specification for content sharing or the rights of what they can keep and but you can share in the future. But just be sure that you're reading that fine print as well. I would have never known this, so thank you, Paige. Okay. Okay. Well, I still can't find the chat, but at least it's on my copy. As soon as I find the chat, I'll paste the link. All right. So some popular names that you might have heard of as far as LMSs right now are Kajabi, Teachable, Thinkific, Moodle, Google Classroom, Zoom Learn, Adobe Captivate Prime, LearnDash LMS, and apparently 700 more. Okay. The reason why I brought these up specifically is because some of you did email me and asked me to talk about this grouping right here. And so I wanted to make sure to bring it up. Okay. Now, I'm going to let Paige here in a minute talk about a couple of these, but I want to also explain to you that I did a little bit of research on Kajabi, Teachable, Thinkific, and they are more of an entrepreneurial platform. So read up on that. They're a good point of departure, and they do allow you to upload your content and sell it, but you definitely want to read up on what they have to offer. If they are the type of LMS that will, discuss rights, the right situation with them. They all have points of contact, whether it's chat or email or otherwise. So it's really important for me as a content creator that my content be unique to me. And so, and if it is perfect, and if I do choose to share it, I want to make sure that the copyright is always staying with me or my organization, because it becomes intellectual property. So you just really want to be careful with what you're giving away. Okay. So then there's Moodle, Google Classroom, Zoom Learn. Two of these are, I believe actually all of these have, the three of these have a free version, which are, it's great, first of all. And Google Classroom and Zoom Learn, I had not heard about until you guys posed the question. But in essence, it's just about the same thing. It's a learning management system that allows you to upload your content. Moodle is a little bit more, that I had definitely heard about, because Moodle is more extensive, it's more expansive, it's definitely popular. And then the one that you might have not heard about is Adobe Captivate Prime. And it's because it is an exclusive product from Adobe, and it is an LMS. And if you have Captivate, they sync perfectly. So if you create a simulation on Captivate and then you put it on Prime, it's a perfect fit because they're both from Adobe. And I mean, it has the name of it, Adobe Captivate Prime. It's just that this is the LMS version, okay? Now, with Adobe Captivate Prime, though, I have to say that this is more of something that a corporation would use, because this is more of the LMS where, for example, Bonnie, the library system would contact Adobe for a certain amount of licenses type of situation. Okay, so we're talking, Adobe Captivate Prime kind of reminds me of a bigger learning organization like Cengage or Blackboard or Canvas, I think it is, right? So the bigger ones that you have to, that require licensing for students or something like that, okay? But the ones at the top, the 6 at the top, those I recommend that you check out to see if they're a good fit for you as to what you need, okay? Because in all of them, you can upload content. Now, wait, before I move too fast, do you have questions on any of these that I could potentially answer? No? LearnDash, I'm gonna let Paige talk about here in a minute, but Bonnie, what was your LMS that the library is going to be using?
It's called Niche Academy.
Niche Academy, see? And I am sure that that's perfect for what the library requires, right? So, I mean, if there are really 700, this was a quick online search, then, there are so many choices, and you basically just have to go with what you believe is best for your organization or for your entrepreneurial platform. So here's the thing. what I realized while I was doing this research is how do you want to choose your LMS? Because people will tell you, oh man, I use, this one and it's so great. And then you use it and you're like, I didn't need all that. And then you use this one and it's so great, but you're like, but it's missing this one thing that I wanted to do. So it's like, I realized that there's one rule that I would use. Just get clear on what you want to offer and look for the LMS that fits you or your organization. Okay, just get really clear. For example, these are the elements that are important to me. This is what Cassie would look for. Can it play HTML5 files? Because I wanted to play modules, like the ones where you click play to learn. Okay, can it play that? Can I upload PDFs to it? Can I upload videos to it? Is it SCORM compliant? Because that is important to me as an instructional designer that usually designs for corporate. And can it monetize? Can I actually, if I want to sell courses, can I do it? So for me, those are the 5 simple things that I came up with. Now, sure, it may have more bells and whistles than that, but I just needed to do this. So one of the bigger things that people realize when they're looking for an LMS, and this is, I remember mentioning this our first class, they call me and they ask me, do I need to be SCORM compliant? Well, that's a huge thing, because for me, I want to be SCORM compliant, but maybe depending on what you need, you may not need to be SCORM compliant. And I'll remind you that SCORM compliant at the base here is basically the ability to share your online modules with different LMSs. Okay, so for me, it's important because if I'm creating something SCORM compliant, that just simply means that whatever LMS the client has that is a SCORM compliant LMS, it will fit. It's just a really good fit. But maybe you don't need that. Or maybe you have one of the LMSs that allow you to create an author within it, then you don't need SCORM compliant. So it's about understanding the things that you need. For me, SCORM compliant, boom, check, I need it, okay? So that's what I would say for any of you guys. Get clear on what it is that you want the LMS to do for you, and then begin to research that. Look at their actual website, then go to a separate website for reviews. Then maybe get on YouTube and watch a tutorial for the LMS and what it does, okay? That's what I would recommend as far as a point of departure on finding your LMS, because going through 700 is too much, way too much. And also listening to people saying, man, this one, get this one, and then being disappointed that it doesn't do what you wanted it to do, or it's way too complex for what you actually needed. So just ask yourself, perhaps, what are the 5 things that I needed to do? And then begin from there to do your research. Okay? Question? Yes. Comment?
I was going to add, because I probably researched like over 20 or 30 of these things.
Really? Okay.
Finally landed with LearnDash. But I would say if the answer to SCORM compliant is yes for you, that's where you should start, because it's a real easy way to just say, that one's not going to work for me. Because usually I've found that they're not. Like the Kajabi, and I think the Thinkific, and the 3 that you listed at the top, I don't think they are. So it's like, it might be a good question to ask if you do need a SCORM compliant course. That's
a good point. That's a really good point. It's like I said, it's one of the biggest questions that people literally call me on the phone about. And clarity is everything. If you may think that you need it, but maybe your client doesn't, perfect. If they don't need it, then that project doesn't need it. Okay? But if you need it, like I will always work SCORM compliant because I want to make sure that the content is diverse for different LMSs. Okay? But maybe you don't need it. It's not just a matter of asking yourself, but also what your client needs. Okay? All right. Now, I'm so excited about this one. We're going to turn it over to TreeRing Digital. Wait. This is so exciting for me. Ha. Okay, can you guys see the screen? Okay, so I am super excited to introduce you to Paige because she is the owner and CEO of Tree Ring Digital. Now, here's the thing about Tree Ring Digital, say that 20 times, Paige, is the fact that they actually are an award-winning agency, and these awards are not awards that they just, sometimes you can pay for your awards. No, these guys earned their awards, and I actually love that, and I'm very happy and proud to say that they created my beautiful website that you guys are all familiar with at this point. And Paige, featured here, is the, like I said, the founder and CEO of this agency, and she has developed it from the ground up. And her team is amazing. I really honestly enjoy working with them because they're like super awesome, good people and helpful. And when I asked her, hey, would you mind just speaking about LearnDash because it's not something that I'm super versed on, she said absolutely yes, and I really appreciate her time. One thing that I wanted to make sure to point out is that the part of my portfolio that has the elements that you already have learned to know and love, such as the trading simulation and the e-learning module, I spoke to you about the fact that this is an HTML5 module and this right here is an MP4. Well, they were able to make sure that they both played inside of my website, which I sincerely appreciated. And I'm just at this point bragging, honestly, basically is what I'm doing. And I'm gonna let her just take over this part. And Paige, if you wouldn't mind just like giving us your thoughts on LMSs. And I know that I wanted you to talk about LearnDash a little more, so take it away.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Cassie, for having me and allowing me to speak and tell you guys a little bit more about online learning platforms. Cassie is for sure the expert in content design and how to put all of that together. And at the same time, the calls that we get all the time are, how do I actually build this out? How do I make money off of selling this online workshop? How do I get this to be something that can work, whether it be in my company, for my company, help me make more money, whatever that looks like. And so there really is needing that partnership between the two to make that work. And we also see oftentimes, yes, people come and they're very much a course creator, or they are doing the workshops, they're putting the boot camps on, they're doing the whatever, but they have no idea how to actually get that onto the online world and monetize it. And then on top of that, with everything happening with COVID, we've seen that just have to spike so fast, where people were like, I'll like maybe put a toe in and just see what this is about, or I'll think about it, or corporations needing it, but they know they have the need. So they're just like, cool, let's get started. But we're just seeing it completely transformed. We're like, I've got more clients than I've ever had just because I switched to online. A lot of gyms have actually ran into that I was not sure how that whole online space was going to work for gyms. And they're like, no, we're getting so many people now signing up, taking our course from wherever, doing this, watching it at a time that's convenient instead of trying to make it during the one workshop we have. And so there's definitely a space there, and more so now than ever is that happening. But what you guys are going through is exactly what everyone is going through. What platform do I use, and how do I go about doing that? Cassie, will you either stop sharing or see if you can even give me access to sharing?
Hi, Glenn, I see you.
Oh, I think we're getting closer.
Okay,
All right.
there
So you
it is.
should now be closer to seeing my screen.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Okay.
can
Because I
see it.
don't have the green bar. Perfect. All right. Well, then I will go ahead and go to presentation mode. So what I want to talk about a little bit more today then is just going to be, how do you go about choosing the right LMS solution, especially with how many options Cassie was saying was available, and just really honing in and narrowing that down. Oops. And so we're going to talk about a few different things. Cassie, I know you've talked about some, but the difference between open source and self-hosted is really the best way to explain the difference between Thinkific, Teachable, Kajabi versus LearnDash and some of the other ones. At the same time, why might you choose creating an online course? How a successful marketing effort plays a role in how you choose which platform you're going to use. And then we'll talk about the various online platforms. I completely different research from Cassie, but as you can tell, we really are honing in on the exact same most popular ones, if you will, between Kajabi, Thinkific, Teachable, LearnDash, which is important to say that it is partnered with WordPress. It is a platform that you need WordPress for. I did not include Moodle in my list, mainly because I just think it is such a beast in of its own, and it is in a completely different wheelhouse for what you're trying to do. We've helped a couple clients through Moodle, and I'm going to tell you, it is just not user friendly. It is one of the most frustrating, but it's very, very capable. If you want to, like hire a Moodle specific developer and you want to work through that process, it is a very, very capable program, but it is not just a let's just get started type of program. And so that's kind of the reason that we won't go over it in this particular presentation. And then we'll also talk about why a lot of clients switch, why they start with one platform and decide to go to another one. We'll do a conclusion and then have some time for Q&A as well. And then, as Cassie mentioned, I'm the founder and CEO of Tree Ring Digital. We have helped businesses both locally, nationwide, speakers, coaches, influencers, nonprofits for over the past decade and getting their online needs met, whether it be through website design or digital marketing. And I think that would also speak to the fact that a lot of people would just say, you're going to choose your LMS based off of your needs, and they're not going to think about your marketing needs. They're going to say your design needs. And so that's an area where we really excel, is looking at the big picture of your goals overall, not just your immediate need in front of you of how do I get my content onto a website, but what are we actually going to do? And Cassie, I know you and I have had a similar conversation. That's fine. We can put content on a website all day long. What are we going to actually do with it though once it's there? And how are we actually going to make money from it once we get it on the right platform? And so we've built we've hundreds of websites, probably up closer to 500, 600 now at this point, and are recognized one of the best agencies here in Denver for both the web and the marketing side of that. So when we talk about open source and self-hosted, I'm going to break it down in kind of a restaurant example. If you were to go to a buffet and you have the options, you can pick and choose if you want salad, what toppings you want on your salad. You can choose what dressing. You can choose if you want vegetables, don't want vegetables on the side. You can choose what meat you want. You can choose if you want ice cream at the end. You can choose if you want to put sprinkles on top of your ice cream at the end or not. You can really do whatever you want when you go to a buffet. That is really equivalent to what you're going to get when you use WordPress combined with LearnDash, is that you have full control over literally every aspect on the website, from how it looks to how it functions to how it responds, how it integrates with something else. You can do whatever you want. And that is one reason that we really like working with WordPress and LearnDash together, because we don't have the limitations as we would if we were to get into a self-hosted. But you're going to have a good meal either way when you get done with the buffet, because it's what you wanted. You're going to go to the self-hosted side. That's going to be more of let's just say a top of the line chef, where you show up, you have the smallest menu, probably 5 things, and you have to choose one of those 5 things. You can't substitute one thing for another. You can't really add anything extra. It's just, that's your options. They're going to bring it out. They're going to deliver it to you. But there's still a little bit of choice in there if you want option 1 or option 2. But that's it. And that's going to be much more of your self-hosted component of it, meaning they're going to give you this platform. And it's great. It's going to do a lot of things. But if you want it to do anything outside of what it was set up and specifically designed to do, you're not going to be able to. And you're going to run into a lot of limitations. And that's a lot of what we see when we start working with Kajabi, Teachable, Thinkific, some of those third-party self-hosted programs, if you will. And so it's choosing what are you wanting when you're figuring out the right system. Are you wanting something that's a little bit more simple? Not a lot of thought goes into it. You don't have a lot of decisions to make. You just want to set it up and get running. Or is it something you want to grow and you want to have customization over and you want to have that flexibility? Figuring that out from the beginning, but that's really what we're looking at when we're comparing those top three that we've talked about compared to LearnDash and WordPress. Even Moodle is very locked in. It is still considered a self-hosted type platform where they're going to do this, this, and that. And if you want additional functionality, you have to beg their developers to develop that out, and it is not going to be cheap. They'll say, yeah, we can do it for blank, and it is super, super expensive. And that's what we ran into a lot, was fighting with developers when working with Moodle with one of our clients. It should go perfect. So let's talk a little bit about like some of the reasons. And I know a little bit about a couple of you guys on the call right now, but at the same time, the main reasons that we see people starting an online learning platform is that they're trying to position themselves in an industry expert. So think of the coaches, the speakers, the consultants. They want to be able to put their platform someplace and people are like, oh, they actually have a course. Oh, they have a book that is supported with a course. They must be the expert. I'm going to hire them, because we know that people will engage with those they know, like, and trust. Another reason that they're going to do it is to reach more people in a day. Or if you're bringing on and onboarding new employees, it's a lot easier to sit down and give them the workshop to work through, as opposed to you having to sit down with every single one of them. I know when we bring new employees on, we're even doing it more and more of like, here's how you use our CRM. Here's how we do this. Here's how our process works. Because no one in the team has the time every time we onboard to sit down for several hours and walk through every little detail. So let's do it once and show them how to do it. Same goes though for those consultants and coaches. They only have, let's say, 8 hours in a day, if they even want to work a full 8-hour workday. And so they can only fit so many people in before they hit the max that they can ever make. And so by offering courses and online platforms, they can now have 10 people sit in that course, whether it be a private thing and you don't know who else is in it, or whether it be more of a group session like this, where there's multiple people and we can see the participants. So being able to reach more people in a day would be another one. Grow your business and client lists. So a lot of people will use it also as a lead generation tool to get to an end result. Hey, why don't you come take this course and then sign up for this retreat? Why don't you sign up for this one workshop, and then you'll see that you like the learning style. There's 20 others behind it. So why don't you now start paying for a monthly membership to this? And so it's ways that you can engage with potential clients. You can earn trust with potential clients, or just continue to retain existing ones. And then finally is the additional income. So there's ways that we can definitely monetize online learning platforms and workshops and boot camps and whatever that looks like, in a variety of ways, whether it be leads, passive income, etc. So I'd say primarily, how do we either get in front of more people, or how do we make more money, are two of the main reasons that we see people building online platforms right now. Do we have any questions thus far? Because again, like Cassie, I can't see the chat. So if you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to chime in too. I won't be distracted if you do. So as we move on, oops, it went too many. As we move on, one of the things that we want to look at would be successful marketing. As I mentioned, it's one thing to choose a platform that's going to meet all of your needs from a design and learning platform. However, it really only matters if we're getting people to it. So for example, the library, you guys might just have people showing up to it because they're just going to it. Like, you're leading them as they come into the library, you're pointing them to it. You've got, employees that are recommending they go to this. So those aren't as important. But if you're trying to monetize it and make money, we have to figure out what we're doing to market that, because some of these self-hosted platforms do not really offer customizable landing pages, in which case you're going to have to go to a different third party to set that up. And you're also going to start to get a disconnect in the look and feel then, and the customer journey. So it's very important from a marketing perspective that you figure out, are we doing Facebook ads and where are they going? Because you can't really do a landing page lead generation from a Facebook ad to, let's just say, a Kajabi, buy my course right this second. they're not set up to have that call to action interface and building them through it. So that's one thing we want to look at. Then what are we doing to nurture? Will the platform that you're using allow you to embed third-party email marketing options into it so that maybe they're not going to subscribe the first time they visit your website, but they may download a white paper, they may download a template, they may download something else. And so how can we get them to opt in? They may take a quiz to figure out if it's the right fit for them. So there's all these different ways that we can do lead generation to get them into an email campaign so that you can continue to nurture them into the buying decision. But you need to look at how does that journey work with each of the programs before you choose. The next is going to be, how are they purchasing? Sometimes, Cassie, you were mentioning e-commerce is one of the options you like to consider when choosing a solution. A lot of the third-party self-hosted ones, they only allow you to purchase the course, or it's just the course that you can purchase. There's no recurring subscriptions. There's nothing else. You can't sell a book and a course in the same thing. You can't sell an event workshop and the ongoing membership in the same checkout process. So now you're asking them not only to take action and to purchase something, but to give you their credit card twice. And that's a really, really hard sell. So how do we make that journey a lot easier? And then at the same time, when they're purchasing, a lot of clients might want to do some of the content's restricted, whether it be like resources, tools, etc. But they also need them to get this course. And there's no way to connect the two together. If they purchase on your site, they are not purchasing on Kajabi. So you can't have them purchase or pay you, because you now have to go and sign them up and have them pay Kajabi as well for the course itself. And so looking at that purchase and what that goal looks like is really important when deciding what program to use. And then finally, what are we doing to retain? Once they're signed up, you better be figuring out how to upsell. You better be figuring out how to get them through the course. You better figure out how to get them to be raving fans. You need to know if they're completing stuff or not. You need to also have control and ownership over the customer list. Meaning, if they go and they purchase through some of these third-party platforms, they'll own the email list and they'll just tell you that someone new signed up, but they won't give you the contact details. They feel that that's what you're paying for when you pay for their platform, and that's their information, not yours. Or they are also collecting that. And is that following into your compliance that you are open with in your privacy policy, that when they sign up on this third party, it's actually going to the third party. So now they can start marketing to that person other courses or something else that have nothing to do with you. And is that the model you want to go through? So there's a lot of things when it comes to that retaining. And do you own that customer list or not? Can you reach out to them when you're ready to or not? And what does that look like? Can you upsell them in the future? So when we look at the learning platforms, we've got Kajabi, Thinkific, and Teachable that are self-hosted, are kind of the three main ones we're going to go through, and then LearnDash on the open source side. I will say there are other platforms within WordPress that are LMS systems that you can link into. There are other platforms that are, like you mentioned, there's like 750 of them out there. We pretty much specialize in WordPress and LearnDash because we've tried the other ones and they just don't give us the solutions we're looking for. And so we have really honed in that LearnDash, if we're going to partner it with WordPress or if we're going to use WordPress, it really is the way to go, just because of how many different times we've tried other options. So when we're looking at Kajabi, some things to keep in mind: your monthly rate is going to go anywhere from $149 to $399 just to have the platform with them. And if you stop paying that, they will literally the next day shut off everything. So if you decide to go somewhere else, you bet, and this is with any of the self-hosted, if you decide that you don't want to pay it or you miss a payment, you will lose all of your content. And so really keeping in mind what happens and how do you export that content is very important, especially when you're paying a monthly fee to these companies. Pros though, Kajabi is a great program. It's simple to get started. It does allow for assignments, quizzes, and surveys. So again, how are you planning to produce that content and what are you wanting that journey to look like from an online learning standpoint? They just recently introduced more webinar and event integration with Zoom. always good to see if a program is building new tools in, it's keeping up with the times, etc. So if you want to have events or webinars, it is very important that you look at that, because some of them don't. You can accept one-time payments or recurring payments. So it's really helpful from a membership perspective that you can do that. And it's going to integrate some additional functionality fairly well. So can you integrate MailChimp? Can you integrate your CRMs? Can you integrate other tools? And what does that look like? So having even that laundry list of what does the customer journey look like and how well do these third-party platforms integrate into it. And cons, though, they are, for some odd reason, they really restrict the amount of contacts and students you can have. And they're also what determines what you're paying on a monthly basis is how many courses you want. If you want one course, fantastic, great. Kajabi might be the good fit for you. But if you get to, I think it's like 5, 7, 10, they're going to bump up your monthly rate. I've gone over this debate with clients, or not even just clients, but just in general in the industry with e-commerce too. Why are you working with a company that is going to restrict or limit your growth, or they're going to charge you more to grow? So for example, you start off, you're just getting your toes wet, you decide to have a course or two, but before you know it, they're going to charge you more money monthly just because you're growing, because you're doing so well. And it's not really the best fit. I don't like that they're like, if you get X amount of customers, but the second you go one over that and you have one more student than that, we're going to charge you the next tier of pricing. And so I don't really like that model whatsoever when we get into growth mode of businesses, which is what we really focus on. 30 days for payments, that's something to keep in mind, that they're going to keep the payment for 30 days before they'll actually release it to you. And then it's in your bank account. Not necessarily a deal breaker, but it is important to know what your payout terms are. And we could actually, you know what, Cassie, the one thing I didn't even think about when putting this together is one of the reasons a client switched over is because I think it was Teachable thought that they were a get rich quick scheme. They thought they were teaching an online platform to get rich quick. They stopped them, seized the account, shut everything down, and they have $5,000 of our clients' money because they were not a get rich quick scheme. Oh. But when you put your content on third parties like this, they can start to restrict who you're marketing to, what you're doing, what happens if they think you're in violation of their policies, etc. And the client is now fighting and arguing with them for $5,000. Wow. I don't know a lot of business owners that are just like, oh, cool, I can handle sitting that out for a while. So that's part of the 30-day payment, is that they can hold that for 30 days. And if they find you're in some sort of violation of their policy, they just won't release it in the 30 days. And they'll tell you that that's too bad, you violated it, so it's our money now. Kajabi, especially for this course that you're talking about today, Cassie, if you're trying to work specifically in Captivate, Kajabi doesn't support it. So there's just no even point in looking at it. And that's just, again, one of those, what are your deal breakers? And so definitely important to realize you can upload content and you can have PDFs, but if you're trying to get any type of interactivity with that content through HTML and Captivate and such, it's not going to work in Kajabi. The sales funnel, like we talked about with how do we nurture them through the system and the processes there. And you really do run into design restrictions. There you have a template. It's kind of drag and drop, but it's not really anything you can get super fancy with. And so we really find a lot of clients run into limitations on how they want it to look and feel, and they're just kind of hands tied. Any questions specifically over Kajabi?
Super help. Thank you.
So then let's move into Thinkific. This one's a little bit better. You're going to range here from $0 to $99 a month. They do have a $499 a month plan. I looked at it one more time before the call because they definitely have the widest range between 0 and $499. But most people would be able to fall in the $99 range. So I didn't want to be super misleading that I really think you could get into Thinkific at about $0 to $99 on a monthly basis if you, to meet most of your needs. It's, again, all the self-hosted. The biggest reason we hear people do go this route is because they're simple to get started. You literally give them a credit card, put in some information, and voila, there's a site. Is it a good site? No. Is there still work that has to be done? Absolutely. But that is the reason that they like these. This one allows for quizzes and surveys, but very interesting that they don't allow for assignments, nor do they allow for workshops and events sort of integration with Zoom. So something we just talked about, obviously with COVID, that's the direction we're going, and that's kind of the new norm. So is this still a good platform? Because if that's what you want, some people really like assignments to check along the way. Is the student learning what they're supposed to learn, or is the employee retaining the information they're supposed to be retaining to get to the end goal of where you want that employee? And so yes, it's nice that they have quizzes, but is an assignment a deal breaker or not? Thinkific does allow for Captivate, Articulate, HTML, those different platforms. And I do like that it does that. And I would say that this one seems to be a little bit more of a robust, encompassing platform. Even just when you go through their website, when you work through different pieces of it. They do offer the one-time and the recurring payments. They have payout is instant, and then they have a really good retention and notification system built into it, which is something I really do like to see. And on top of it, they do also offer a bit of insights and analytics through the customer journey. And then from the limited admin user, basically what it means is you can only have like one admin before you have to pay for more or a higher monthly fee, or two admin, meaning can you have multiple teachers? Some people want to know, like have courses that it's like, I'm going to teach on, even like, let's just pretend I'm going to teach on LMSs and Cassie's going to teach on creating it. Well, now we need two admins and two teachers, so they're going to charge us more. So a lot of the third-party platforms run like that. We talked about the assignments, design restrictions. They all come with this design restriction component of how much freedom do you have. It's kind of what we talked about in the restaurant example. And their customer support is only through email. That's going to get really, really difficult when you're trying to work through certain things. You're not going to get any issue resolved immediately. And if you're depending on making money and an issue happens, you're at the mercy of their email support to get back to you before you can really get that resolved and start making money again. So some limitations there. Any questions on Thinkific?
Quick question on Kajabi versus Thinkific. Does Kajabi then offer quizzes, surveys, and assignments and workshops, or none of the above?
They're going to offer both the quizzes, the surveys, the assignments. Probably the drawback for this particular talk that we're having right now is the lack of Captivate, though.
Okay, perfect.
It doesn't mean that if you could upload Captivate that there isn't some sort of thing into it, but they make it pretty difficult to to have that assignment happen. I know like with Moodle, you like can do the entire assignment right there on the screen, hit submit, and it notifies the teacher. This is a bit more of like download the PDF, fill it out, and then email it to your teacher is how they would run assignments. It's not physically built into the system.
That's Thinkific.
The Thinkific, yeah, where it's like download it, do something, take action, and then email the teacher the results, and then move on from there.
Okay, thank you.
Grading and scoring is one that honestly, like not many of them talk about, but like, is there automatic grading when you do quizzes? Are assignments automatically scored just because they completed? Is it correct? Can the teacher leave feedback? There's all sorts of stuff that you really do. And I mean, I was like trying to do a comparison chart instead of this pros and cons method where it was like feature, which one has it, feature. There's just so many features. And so you have to figure out, like you mentioned, Cassie, at the beginning, what are the must-haves and like, what are the 5? And figure out from there. And that's even how I kind of determine some of the pros and cons of what are more or less deal breakers when getting started. Moving into Teachable, very, very basic. This is just your entry line. I'm just going to get started and I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just going to fly by the seat of my pants and it'll give me online learning. Simple to get started, but it's only giving you quizzes. You can do one-time payments and recurring. I think the only benefit I really saw out of Teachable is that it allows you to sell additional products with it as well. Their price point is a little bit different. They're $39. The $39 plan though takes a transaction fee. So just know you're paying $39, but if you sell 200 courses or whatever, and or you got $200 or and like monthly fees, whatever, they're taking a transaction fee out of that on top of it. So that's where they're actually probably going to end up more profitable than those other ones, even though you're starting at a lower monthly payment with them. So kind of keeping that in mind when going through. They don't allow for the assignments. They don't really allow for like Captivate and all of that type of integration. They do the transaction fees. They make it very, very difficult to integrate any type of third party into it. I want to say like MailChimp and Stripe are about your two options. Everything else, they're going to defer to a third party called Zapier, which is just adding additional fees, unnecessary fees, a lot of extra setup. You're going to be very, very frustrated when working through Teachable from our experience. And then biggest complaint that we've really heard about Teachable is there's a lot of unplanned maintenance and downtime. So without really knowing it, your site's down, your courses are down. How does that affect your business model? If you've got an employee that's got to take this training and all of a sudden your course is down and you can't do anything about it, you're just wasting time. You're literally just paying them to sit there. Or you're losing money. If you're making money at all hours of the night and your site goes down, or day and night, and your site goes down, how much money are you losing? Because they'll put it back up whenever they get it resolved. That's the problem when it comes to some of that hosting stuff, is you're at the mercy of them just fixing it. So we don't really want to see a whole lot of downtime when looking at that. If I had to choose, I think Thinkific would probably be the choice of what I would recommend of these three options. I think Kajabi oversells itself, and I think that Teachable is just too entry level for really growing a business or growing any type of system into it. When we start looking at LearnDash, we specialize in WordPress for a reason. We specialize in it because when a client comes to us, Cassie, you came to us and was just like, I just need a little simple site. And now you're like, but I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to integrate Captivate, and I want to do this. Every single client, that's what happened. They start with, I just need something to get me going. And then all of their needs start changing and spiraling in a different direction. And we're able to shift and adapt. If you came to us and you were in Kajabi and decided that it didn't have a function that you need, I'm literally charging you to start all over, rebuild the entire system, migrate all of your content over, and then do what you want it to do. When we build in WordPress, and most specifically in LearnDash, and you come to us and say, hey, you know what? I'm actually ready to also offer resources built into this, or I want a landing page to go along with this that I can use specifically for marketing. Great, let's build it out. And I'm not charging you to redesign the whole thing. We just can continue to add on and build upon the foundation and the framework that we originally built. And that was exactly the conversation you and I had, Cassie, of great, I don't have to start over. If you want to do online learning, and we never talked about that before when you first came to me, no problem. Let's start talking about what it costs to build that in instead. And so that's why we really like WordPress most specifically, but LearnDash here, because you don't know. You were going to come with, like, let's say the 5 main deal breaker features. But as you grow, you might have more. Maybe you want to be able to have the student communicate with the teacher privately in one-on-one sessions. Great, let's build it in. But you can't do that sort of stuff in some of the platforms. But you didn't have that need when you got started. So I like the freedom and flexibility, the growth without restrictions. We can integrate HTML, Captivate, and really increase that user experience overall. You have full ownership over all of it, from the customer emails to the tracking and analytics, to the code itself, to the artwork that's going on it, to the content that's on it, to the coursework you're uploading, all of it. You have full control over, and you have full rights over it. And that piece I really like. We can integrate all sorts of additional functionality. Like I said, restricting content. We've got some that want membership directories built in. Not only do we want to offer online learning we've got a inspection company. They offer online learning to be certified as this type of inspector, but they also want to use it as a lead gen so that they can have 8 brokers go to their website and hire the certified inspectors. So now we have an entire directory built into it of all of the certified members. Boom, we're making so much more money now because of all of the tools. And they know that's the main reason they're retaining. The reason that those inspectors keep paying for membership is because they're getting leads. So now we have these two systems built together to make that work. You're not going to get the option to have directories on these other third-party platforms. And so how do we make that component work together? And there's a number of our clients that do online learning and then some sort of directory built in, whether it's a community of people together. Hey, here are other entrepreneurs and business owners. Let's all work together to better our network while learning, whatever that looks like. So you can just continue to grow and expand, because my goal is to help you guys grow businesses and to make your businesses more profitable by a streamlined process and procedure, if you will. And then marketing, SEO friendly. A lot of these platforms aren't built for marketing, so they're not going to know how to market or how to design and develop for it. They're just, we offer you the ability to install that code. They don't know what it does, what it means, how to help you. You're not going to get much support for it. And so really that ability to be found in search engines is going to be part of your growth overall. The cons, you're definitely going to have a separate hosting. And typically that runs about $30 a month. So I've already included that in the 100 that we would talk about, and an SSL certificate to maintain security. You are going to need some additional support from time to time. LearnDash, once we get it set up, my feeling is LearnDash actually runs and operates exactly like all of the self-hosted ones. You still have drag and drop options. You still have the ability to go in and create content. Most of our clients don't come to us to upload content for the courses. We'll do training and teach them how to do it, and they're off and running. And they are like, great, I'm just glad I know that if I ever needed anything, they're there to support me, and they'll train me and they'll show me how to do it. But they can just go off on their own the same way they were doing it with Teachable and Thinkific and Kajabi and all of that stuff. We do recommend routine maintenance, but this is on your clock. So unlike the Teachable where I said it's unplanned, it just goes down, we can plan that with you and say, hey, we do need to do maintenance. When is a good time? Oh, you have a workshop happening on this day, then let's do it on that day. And I also included that in the $100 a month. So between the hosting and the maintenance, we're still coming in right around the same cost and probably a little bit cheaper in some of those platforms. You're not restricted. You can have as many courses as you want. The courses can be as long as you want. You can have as many students enrolled as you want. You can have membership built into it and restricted content. You have no restrictions when it comes to that, other than maybe we have to increase your server size due to resources or something, but we're not going to necessarily say because you hit this one more student, you got to go over it. And then you do have an initial build cost, but that's with a professional. So when you start with Thinkific, Kajabi, all of that, you're just running blind. Who do you go to and say, how do I make this work? Or should I have this here or that there? Where do I place my call to action? What should be going in my menu bar? How many times should I place a phone number on here? What does the call to action for registering look like? So yes, you have an initial build cost, but that's because you have a professional walking you through so that you're going to have a good customer journey and that your things function. If just because you installed email marketing doesn't mean your email marketing is working properly. Here, you would have someone to go to say, how do I work through that journey? So as much as they're cons, I really don't think that the cons are huge cons compared to the long-term gain. If we can get you set up with a solid foundation and then you keep moving forward, it's a lot better off. Any questions on LearnDash? I think one of you guys were trying to use it more specifically.
Paige, if let's say somebody gets started on Kajabi or Thinkific, I know that you said that you would have to have them build everything brand new for LearnDash, but is there a way to actually just migrate the content from one to the other?
They're using, you can't even like export databases and go to a new one. They're using such different platforms that you can't even go from like Kajabi to Thinkific. You can't be like, oh, I started in Kajabi and it was working fine, but now I want to incorporate Captivate, so let me just move it all over. They don't work like that. You can copy and paste, but you're literally building every course, every topic, every piece of content, every image you uploaded, every HTML code you placed. you're taking it from the one to the other. And there's no streamlined way to do that. If we were to start in Shopify, let's just say for websites, it's kind of a similar thing where we have to copy and paste the content. But if we built in WordPress to get started, and then you decide you want a whole different theme, look and feel, everything, we can export and import that content, and it's just a streamlined transfer because we were already in WordPress. And so again, it allows us to continue to, even if you were, to start with like, oh, I've got some pieces over here and over here, like, no, we still have to merge that all together somehow. So that's again where I like, let's start with even a 5-page site on WordPress and then build in the online learning when you're ready. But we're not starting in Shopify and then trying to get over to WordPress to build your online learning. Or you don't have a Shopify account and a Thinkific account because you decided to merge your website with your online learning platform. They don't work like that. So you're always going to have 2 different websites, 2 different maintenance costs, 2 different things happening. And here we're finally able to bring all of this into one hub, if you will, which is why I really like WordPress and LearnDash.
So then with LearnDash, you're able to monetize.
Yes. Yes, 100% able to monetize. I guess I didn't even put that one in there. I couldn't. There were so many pros. But yes, you can 100% monetize, whether that be I want to sell a membership and they're already registered as a student now. I want to have memberships and then also charge for a blank separately, like to be placed in the directory as an additional cost. You can sell books and your online courses in the same checkout. You can do all sorts of stuff and how that works. Absolutely.
Got it. Okay. No, I definitely am asking you for my own selfish purposes because, as you know, this is the part of my website that it's not fully built yet. And so it's one of the things that I know I'll have Paige and her team take care of for me. It's just these are legitimate questions. These are not just like Paige saying, hey, Cassie, will you ask me these questions? No, these are questions that I legitimately have for my own site. So,
well, it's really important to realize that you can't marry the two. Don't start with Shopify or BigCommerce or Wix or Weebly or any of that because they don't offer online learning. So if you're even thinking that as an option in your future, just don't even start because the amount of time you're going to waste trying to learn and figure out that program because you don't want to go hire somebody is a complete waste of time. The second you say, I want online learning, someone is going to say, great, we have to start over. And so let's just start in that WordPress platform to get started. Yes, like I said, there is an initial build cost, but you own everything. And we know we're already lower in a monthly cost than overall than most of these other platforms with no restrictions. So it's figuring out that balance. But that's why a lot of people start that way with the Kajabi and the Thinkific and whatnot, is because it was just a cheaper starting point.
Gotcha.
So then let's talk about why people are switching. Why would anybody, if they are set up in Thinkific or Kajabi, why would they switch?
Wait, I think Paulina has a question.
Oh yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, please do.
I want to, so is this, and your last statement may have just clarified what I wanted to ask you, is this a fair statement that Kajabi talks a lot about how it's like an all-in-one solution, right? It's like not just an LMS, but it's also marketing and you can build a website and all that stuff, right? But like, yes, it's easier to get started because they've built it out so cookie cutter. Like, I mean, there's some stuff you can do, but basically it's cookie cutter, right? But LearnDash with WordPress can do all the same stuff. It just may not be as easy to get started because you may need a professional's help.
That's a good statement for sure. And I think the other is just knowing that at some point you are going to hit a restriction with Kajabi.
Right.
They can say they do it all, but I don't know specifically like if they'll allow you to do a blog. But we see a lot of people, if they're trying to say that they're the expert in an industry, that they want to also supply supporting documents. Or maybe there's other resources and tools, or I want to be able to download templates, or my students to download these templates that'll help them along the way. Let's say it's a boot camp, but they can't do that because it's not part of how their system is set up. Their system is set up to have topics, courses, quizzes, assignments, etc., not yet a whole nother section of the site that has tools. And
Mhm.
so now we hit a restriction, right? And that's the component where it really starts to give them hiccups. Or you can build so much, but they're not going to give you the landing page that you can actually use that has a completely different template look and feel that is geared towards marketing. So now you have to go over to, like, let's say leads pages, build that into your system, have them go to leads pages from your Facebook ads or Google ads or whatever, then click a button that takes them over to Kajabi to purchase. And now there's a disconnect in look and feel. With
Mhm.
LearnDash, we can literally have them go to a landing page, click a button, and then when they go to the checkout process, they haven't even left the site.
That's
So
really helpful.
what?
I just said that's really helpful. And I was also going to add that that was a big golden nugget of wisdom that you said, like, if you're going to even think about e-learning or having an LMS and you have a business, that you should just start a WordPress site. I didn't consider that, but it makes total sense. So,
A lot of clients will start with, I'm just going to build it in Weebly. It's
yeah.
fine. Wix, it's totally fine. It's not. It is cheap and it will get them going. I guarantee you, if you're going to grow in any capacity, something will come up that it can't do.
Oh my gosh, hold on. Let me just say really quickly that Paige and I have known each other for almost 3 years, okay? And I back then I didn't have a website for this business. And I said, I think I literally said something like, I think I'm just gonna build it in one of these free sites. And she said, if you do that, we're not friends. and we had just started. We actually have the same. We share an office here, and so that's how we got to know each other. Her business is housed here, and so is mine. We just have separate sectors of the building, basically. And that's how we ran into each other. We started talking, and I started talking to her, saying, yeah, I think I'm just gonna start there, and like, so straight face. Do not do it. And it was hilarious because after a few months, maybe like a year, I understood that if I really did want to grow, I needed to bite the bullet and do that. However, I do think that free serves a purpose, but as Paige explained, just be aware that you will have switching pains afterwards. If you're hyper aware of that today, then just know that free may serve your purposes for a little while until growth comes, and then you will experience like as Paige is saying, maybe switching pains, but at least you'll know, or start from the point of departure that Paige is offering. So.
The other way I look at it, and I will absolutely tell clients this on a regular basis. I will tell them that proof of concept. No, it is not necessarily cheap to build out an or online learning platform, but proof of concept, or know what your strategy is to make that money back. So for that, I will say, yes, start with Teachable or, Thinkific, whatever. I do understand from a business perspective why you would go that route, knowing that switching point is going to happen. But a lot of people don't realize how long it takes to create content, to fill up an online, like it's fine to start with 1 or 2, but if you're thinking you're going to have like a 10 courses online, don't start there and know that you're going to have to move 10 over in the future. But if you think you're just really honestly going to start with 1, then maybe that's a good spot. And just start to generate that interest, generate that there's people that are going to sign up for it, generate that, hey, maybe you start it that it's free, and then after the 6 months you feel like you got enough content that you can up it to $20 a month. So like, I'm totally down with building proof of concept, understanding you can't just export and import. You're going to start over, and so know what those deal breakers are right off the bat, because to try and save some of that pain. And that's what I try to explain to them all the time. I'm like, I hear Kajabi and I'm just like, oh my God, like just do it. You already have most of these guys already have WordPress sites too. So it's like, why are you going to have your website here and then go build an online learning platform in a third party? And I'm learning people don't realize WordPress can do it because WordPress doesn't advertise that it is an option. And like Kajabi, which sell all day long. This is an option. This is what it does. And so that goes into why are they switching platforms, right? We rarely get the call that a client wants to start an online platform. They are always calling us to switch out of a third party and build it into their own system. That is hands down the phone call we get all of the time. And now they're a little frustrated because they also have to start over. And we are trying to figure out, and that was why I was really excited when Cassie asked if, I wanted to speak on this topic, is I would like people to understand ahead of time that there is an option and a better solution, and one that is going to meet their needs in the long run. I was doing some math, and let's just say if it costs $5,000 to just get a basic membership site, and you're going to pay $299 a month to one of these programs, within 16 months, it's already paid off. And so how much time, energy, and effort, and what is your time and value worth to start in the right platform and learn from the beginning how to use it instead of struggling on your own, no professional, to build all of this and then having to learn a whole new platform 16 months later, because that's probably about the amount of time it's going to take you to really ramp up and build up anyway, and then go and invest and start from ground zero. And now you might, and going that route. So pros and cons, and I do understand that, yes, there is a cost to the initial build, but to know that these platforms are charging so much on a monthly basis, I feel like it's much better to just bite the bullet and break it down that way instead.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was also going to add that when I was first starting out with the WordPress route, I didn't know anything about WordPress, and I didn't realize that it's like an ecosystem of all these different third parties that like WordPress by itself is just very vanilla, but it's all the third party apps that make it so amazing and customizable. But it was definitely, and it's still a little bit intimidating for me to understand how it all works. Luckily, I found some amazing developers that for me, it was like magic. I'm like, I don't know how you do it, but you make it work.
Right.
But I could see why people go to places like Kajabi or Thinkific or Squarespace or Wix, because they advertise that you don't have to be a coder, you don't have to be a developer. Right. It's just drag and drop. And that's yes, but exactly from what you said, yeah, I think it's worth it to pay the money.
Well, and would you, I'm assuming if you're in WordPress now that you would say that now that it is set up, it really is a lot like these third-party programs where it's like, no, I can go in, I can edit content, I could upload an image, I could change this, I can do that. Yes, there's still some restrictions, but the stuff that you probably shouldn't be touching anyway. But like overall, what the developer is building you is the ability to do this, but it's unique and customized to your needs because your business or, like online learning, whatever, is not the same as the next person. And so let someone build it out so that it is in fact, so you do have add value that you're bringing to the table when you're building these out.
Agreed. Thank you. This is probably like the best discussion on LMSs I've been a part of. So I appreciate that.
Oh, good. I just feel like so many people don't know what they don't know. And so they just dive in, like you said, it's what they're advertising, it's what they do. And how do we let more people know there's a solution that's actually an amazing solution?
It's also what all the influencers are using is Kajabi and like all those sites. So it must be like, well, they're successful, so why wouldn't I want to do it, right?
I actually, and Cassie, I don't know, there are a couple that will support other, like they'll like advertise and market all of the workshops that like Kajabi, that's on Kajabi's platform. But I really don't even think that most of these like market each other. Like, oh, we have 1,000 teachers on here, and so we're going to market all these classes. They don't help you in any way, shape, or form or marketing either. So like, what is the real benefit other than cheap and cookie cutter and, that they're offering? And so how do we make that unique and really make you guys shine and stand out and look at all the details and the data there? So with that, so restricting content, providing templates, tools, blog posts, etc., you have to have them on 2 different platforms. And so when that happens, what that's doing now is it's putting a purchasing point on WordPress and lock down restricted content on WordPress. But to access the course in, like, let's say Kajabi, you are now making your user leave your site and figure out a different URL and login details on this other third-party platform just to be able to access your ad value. And so when we can put them into one, like we are with LearnDash and WordPress, you make that user experience so much easier and so much cleaner to navigate. And so that's where there's a huge benefit in that component of it. And we see it a lot. Difficulty retaining. There's a lot of these that don't really tell you anything in terms of, hey, a student is hanging on topic 8 or lesson 8. How do we get them to get back in, encourage them to get back on the course and get them to fulfill and finish this? Or how do we know that they in fact completed or not? How many people just hit next, 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 and no timing? How many people, when is the last time this user logged in? Can I reach out as a marketing company or the owner of the site and say, hey, let's go, and anybody who hasn't logged in 30 days, let's just email them and say, don't forget we're here. Most of them don't even let you do that. So how are we retaining these? You took their money, and most people are benefiting because of the recurring payment. It's just passively coming out. But the second that user thinks there's no add value, they're going to cancel subscription. So we need to retain if you want to make money. And if they're not offering you those options to upsell, retain, and bring back, it's not helpful. You might as well just keep looking to the next place. You can be as free as you want on Thinkific or whatever. But again, if we can keep them coming back over and over, money well spent on the initial build. Separate landing pages. We just built this site out the other day for a client, and I'm still so confused and baffled. She's like, so we're building an online learning platform. We're going to have so many courses. We've got all these great things in mind. It's going to be perfect. Okay, why are you calling me? What do you need me for then? We need a website. Isn't that what like Teachable does? Like, isn't that the whole point, is that all of your stuff is there? She goes, no, well, yeah, but we can't have an about page. We can't have a contact page. We can't have a landing page for marketing. We can't place all of our workshops in one page that's designed the way we want it to be designed. So all I want is a really simple website. And then I want them to all have buttons that link to every single Teachable class. Why don't we just build it in WordPress? We're already halfway there by the time we're done. Why don't we just bring your course over here and sell it that way? But instead, she now has 2 hosting fees, 2 sites to manage, 2 places to make changes, 2 different things to pay attention to. What are we doing for marketing? 2 different sites of analytics. We're now splitting up SEO traffic so the search engines see this is not, this 2 different businesses basically. It's going to affect her so much in the long run, but that was the need. She's on Teachable, I'm pretty sure, and it wasn't working. It wasn't meeting her needs. And so I told her too, I said, so you're basically telling me within the first day, you've already realized that this is the wrong platform for you. And she's like, yeah. And it's just like, then let's get you moved over. I think that conversation was, let's proof of concept. Let's get people engaging. Let's get them signing up. And once we do that, then let's build out the e-commerce and let's build you out that, or like not the e-commerce, the online platform. But like, we're gonna hit restrictions and limitations. And it's at what point is that gonna happen? And then finally is gonna be the marketing, the tracking, the lead generation, the analytics, the search engine optimization. They aren't built for that. They don't have any idea how to market, and they don't understand what tools are important to businesses. It is a cookie cutter solution that they literally give you a box that says, please fill in a blank. And if you want to do anything, it's the same reason why Weebly sites, Wix sites, all those don't rank as high in the search engines, because they're not offering the access that you need to actually get the results you're paying for. And so that's the other reason, is they're like, I've got this course, but I can't do what I need to from a marketing perspective or a tracking perspective. And so I'd like to transition to a new platform. So in terms of conclusion, they each have their benefits, you guys. It was what we were talking about. it is not a bad idea to get started in some of those third parties if that is where you're at with the business or what your needs are. If you are trying to build this out for corporation perspective, if you're trying to build it out for an internal company use, that's not what those third parties are built for. This hands down, they're built to make money and monetize. They are not built as an online learning system for corporations. And so determine where your business is at, how and how long will it take to create content. It is not going to happen overnight. That inspection company, it's been 2 years, they're still creating coursework and they're still not fully satisfied that they can claim certified because they don't feel comfortable with the amount of content they have. And then what will it take for you to generate those new members? Cassie, that was something you and I talked about when we broke down some of the math. Yeah, if it's the dream model is if I can get 1,000 people paying me $39 a month, that is some really good money. But how long is it going to take? And how much money is it going to cost to get 1,000 people on a monthly basis and to retain the 1,000 people instead of I made 20 sign up, we lost the next month. I got 20 more to sign up, we lost 15 the next month. And you just keep playing this game, you're never going to really make it to 1,000. So yes, people think it's a get rich quick. People think, oh my God, if I could just have this $40,000 passive income on a regular basis, it'd be amazing. There's marketing dollars that are going to go into it, and you need to have a marketing solution set up that will nurture and feed them in. That's where I was saying, quite possibly, if I'm understanding the library models, correctly, at least you'd have all the employees going there, or you're using it as an internal system that you're not necessarily trying to make X amount back, that it's going to cost you an extra $40,000 in marketing over the course of a couple of years to make that $40,000 a month. So understand where you're at as a business, what your break-even point is, and what you're trying to accomplish. And that'll start to make it a lot easier to make that decision and which platform to be going into as well.
Paige, what a pleasure. Holy cow. That was so good. It was good on, of course, the level of collaboration. I know that you have a Q&A here, but before you get to it, I want to make sure to thank you, first of all.
Thank you.
Because it was incredible. I hope for everyone here, but also for me personally, because you and I are in the middle of this conversation, so it was definitely really good. And the second thing I want to point out as a class is collaboration with a power partner is probably one of the most important things that you can do as a business or an institution or anything at all, bringing in that second person that can talk about it the same or better than you, because there's no way I would have been able to tell you all of this about LMSs. And why? Because I create the content and I usually surrender it to someone. And so Paige is the person that I, for my portfolio, have surrendered it to on her team. So they know a lot better than I would ever be able to tell you about LMSs. So thank you so very much, Paige, for
I'm not creating content.
Not what?
I don't create coursework. I don't put that together. I don't know how it works. All I know is you get that completed and then we can help. And that's a big hurdle. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Creating the content is in my opinion, the hardest part of an online learning system.
It's easy.
The rest of it is easy, but who's doing it? You, someone else, or you doing it for your clients? What does that look like? And so, yeah, having that whole component together of knowing how to make it work is important for sure.
What are your questions for Paige, guys?
I just want to say thank you so much for being here. You've blown my mind a little bit, and I'm definitely going to talk to you when I'm ready to do a website and stuff, because I was actually telling Cassie, I was considering something like Kajabi just because of how much it's talked up in the online business space by influencers and other people who have online businesses. So yeah, I thought this was really, really good, and you tied in the importance of, it's not just if you want to monetize this, it's not just about getting it out there on the internet. It's also about how are you going to market it and how are you going to keep these clients, right? Because that's really important.
Yeah, we're in this really, really weird space where people think that as long as they put a course up, it's going to make money. As long as it's in, you know, in front, oh, as long as I have a Facebook page and I put my course on it, I'm going to make money. And it's not. And you have to be like, what are you going to invest in it? And what are you going to do from a marketing perspective? And how are we going to make that money back before we actually dive into it? And that's where it's important to know. You know, at Kajabi, they have an affiliate program. So all these people are just like, especially coaches, teachers, trainers, whatever, are just sharing their affiliate link with others in their network so that they can actually make more money by other people signing up for Kajabi, which is one reason why it has so much name recognition, because they're getting this money on the backside for recommending it out. Some of them too, you have to pay even more to just get their name off of the system. So you're doing the marketing for them and you're paying for that marketing. And so now they're like, oh, because A, B, C, and D are using this platform, then I guess I should. And it's working. That's, you know, like the route you were thinking of going. And so, and it's not saying it's a bad route. I always say there's certain companies that just, I can't stand Yext, but they understand what the sales pitch needs to be. There's a reason they're successful. They figured out how to actually message. And that's what like Kajabi for sure has done, because I would say that is the one we hear most often is Kajabi. And then you look at their website and you're right. They're like the number one, everything you need, everything is built in, nothing else is needed outside of this. But when you actually start paying attention to your needs and wants, there's a lot that's not included in it. And how your business model handles it. We've got clients that want all sorts of random coupon codes or affiliate tracking. We can build affiliate tracking into LearnDash so that you can start having your circle of influence start referring out your courses as a way to generate and market. Way less money you pay when people bring it on, and you're getting your name out there in front of all these other people's networks. You can't do that with some of these other platforms. So if that's the marketing route you're going to go, done. Don't even look at it. Go, you know, straight into a system that will actually track that.
Perfect. Awesome. Other questions? Bonnie, Glenn, Amira.
I wanted to thank you, Paige. Although I'm stuck with what the library already has, one of the things that we do in the job that I'm in at the library is we support businesses and nonprofits. And now I feel so much more informed if this question comes up about LMSs, and also knowing a business in the community and knowing Cassie's business in the community. It's always an advantage to be able to refer people to women-owned businesses too. So it's great to hear this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn, can we answer something for you?
No, I'm just too busy trying to pat myself on the back for going with WordPress originally for the website.
Yes.
I've been breaking my arm trying to pat myself on the back. It got started down the wrong road, and luckily somebody dragged me over, and they were recommending also LearnDash, but the cheap way was not the way to go up front and doing WordPress, and I echo all of that. I'm just going to need a massage because my shoulder's out now from patting myself on the back.
I love that. I think it's great. Give yourself props all day, Glenn. I love it. Okay, good, Glenn. I'm glad some of your questions, I hope, were answered during this talk. How about you, Amira? Do you have questions for Paige? Oh, I think you're muted.
She's not muted, just no sound though.
Oh, there's no sound. You're not muted, but we can't hear you. But look at all of these words, however. See? There's one missing though, I know. There's one on the website.
Oh yeah, I haven't gotten that one on here yet, but no, I just feel that it's a very, very crazy decision to make, and there's too many options, and there's a lot of confusion, and it's hard. There isn't. You can't compare apples to apples with them. I tried. I've looked at them all, and they're just all so different. So you really need to understand what each one's actual capability is. And they're not going to tell you that on their website of like, we're great if you want assignments and quizzes. We're like, you know, and yes, Kajabi is starting to, I think they are one of the few ones that's integrating better with Zoom and doing that. But there's just too many different ways. And it's really easy to just say it's cheap, it's easy, let's go that route. But every client is really frustrated when they come to us and just like, why didn't we do this sooner? Why didn't we just, and I get it. There's the growing phase. You start, you do it yourself, and then you graduate to the next step of, all right, let's finally get someone involved, but at what level am I willing to pay? And then as the business grows, you're like, okay, I guess it's just time just to invest and do this finally right.
What is that cost called that I should know this. Like when you choose the cheaper solution, but then you have to pay more to switch to something more upgraded. God,
Isn't that pound wise, penny foolish, or something? I don't know.
That makes sense, but it's a specific term. There's a cost that's not real until you actually have to pay it.
Or like they're like, oh, it's cheaper. And then I'm sitting here like, I don't even want to know how much time you spent trying to figure that out and what your time and value is worth to come up with that is the outcome. You know, and they're like so proud of it, or they're like, I don't know why it won't convert. And can you help me with marketing? Can you get me to the top? And it's like, can we start with the issue, which is actually the site, not why you're not getting to the top or what you're doing, you know, for this or that. And it's just like, people don't realize the time is money piece, and the amount of money that you've probably wasted of just your own time and not respecting your time in that sense is, you know, where I feel bad for them for how long they've taken to build through it.
Definitely. All right. So Paige, hang out for a second because I know Amira is probably unmuted here. I'm going to after I ask Amira if she has any questions, I'm gonna close out the module and then let Amira do her little spiel that she gives us. But first, Amira, do you have any questions for Paige though? I can't hear you now. What's happening? We can't hear you. You might have to kind of like Glenn did last time. You may have to leave and come back. Oh no, but if you leave, we all leave, right? You can't leave us.
Can make somebody the host. Can make Kathy the host.
Can you make me the host? No? Okay, well, this is a silly question, but is your volume all the way up?
You can check the arrow next to mute and check your microphone and see if it's set to.
Good, she's done it. All right, well, that's okay. It happens sometimes. And it happened on our last class. So, all right, so Paige, hang out. Thank you so much. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. I don't know what happened. I mean, I played with it a little bit. Okay, awesome. I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. Your presence today was awesome, and it really, really was. It was great for the very last class too. Just the information that you provided. So thank you, and thank you, Cassie, for inviting her. It was great. That was awesome.
Definitely. Okay, so then I'm just going to close here. Can you see my screen again? Awesome. Perfect. Well, let's see. First of all, thank you so much for the last 4 weeks. It's been an incredible ride for me. I hope for you too. The biggest thing that I really want you to remember is that as an instructional designer, our focus is truly, truly learning engagement. The learner is who is important. Trying to convey the information to them in a way that they will understand, it's probably the highlight of my sleep every night. So it is very important for me to convey the information to them in a way that they will understand it. Not in the way that I want to do it, or in a way that I want to monetize, but in a way that will serve them properly. Learning engagement is key. And then once you figure out all of your modules, the things that you want to do with it, you've gotten feedback, and whatever it is that you want to do with it, you can put it in the perspective where Paige is talking about. Upload it, share it, do whatever it is that you need to or you want to do with it, monetize at that point. But please remember that content and instructional design are built for the purposes of teaching someone something that you believe will advance their education and information and hopefully enhance their life. Okay, so these are the ways to contact me. You already know. Cassie at mirandaparklearning.com. That is my phone number. This is the website. That is my newly created Facebook page. It's interesting because I've been on LinkedIn for so long, but Facebook has escaped me. And finally, someone I won't mention who's on the line convinced me to put up a Facebook page. So if you wouldn't mind, the only thing that I ask is if you could like the Facebook page. Same thing with LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn so that we always keep in touch. If you feel that this class was useful for you, by all means, please leave a review on either LinkedIn or Facebook. That's sincerely appreciated. And I put this on here because I did write an article on SCORM compliance. So by all means, there it is. I wanted to make that link accessible to you because this is probably top 5 questions that I get as an instructional designer right now. Okay, so once you're ready with all of your modules, then send them over to Paige and we can both create a beautiful experience for you. I know that it sounds like 2 steps, creating and then LMS. And truly it is. It really is. And that's how it is also. It has been also in my experience with different corporations. I'm the creator and then I turn it over to someone like Paige or in IT who can then develop the output for learners. The last thing that I want to say is you can hire me at any point that you want. Please give me a call. I can always help you with your project. I work on a project base or an hourly base. By all means, because we're doing this through BRC, I will make sure that there is a very good, pleasurable experience of a discount for you. If that is something that you would like to work with me. However, if you have quick questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Really, it is one of my passions for people to be educated in the way that engages them the absolute most. So any questions, I'm here for you. Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Paige, Amira. Paige, do you have any last words? And then we'll turn it over to Amira.
No, just thank you guys so much for having me. I'm more just really enjoy educating people on the various options and why they should be doing this. Or my biggest thing too is just always ask questions when you're working with any developer or marketing company, and just continue in asking until it makes sense. And that's kind of my model too, is even when I'm working with my team, if something's just not quite clicking and we're supposed to be talking to the client about, I'm just like, keep asking. Because if it's not making sense, then it's probably not being done right. Or how, what is this end outcome that we're trying to get to? And a lot of people are just going to like, oh no, that's cool, we'll build it. And then it's done. And they don't know how to continue to support you along the way. And so by asking those questions, you'll really find the right fit in the company that you're wanting to work with. And because they're going to help you through the whole journey and educate and explain to you along the way why they're doing it, not just taking your money and doing it and hope it's done right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other final words before we tell everybody who can't be with us today? We're gonna wish them farewell, and then I'll do announcements. Okay, so wave goodbye to everybody. Thanks for coming today.
Bye.